All right, everybody. It's another episode. It's a what? Yes, it's an episode. Is it fun? Always. Is it the best? Yes. Do we like ourselves? Way too much. So this is Michael Silvers from Unmuted. We're just having a great time because it's always about why is Jeff like the biggest one on my screen, by the way? Like
No, I've
you
got
and I,
you.
Sandy, are these little pictures, and I've got this hell hefe here, you know? Um, so this is Michael Silvers with Unmuted. We're having another great week. You know, we've had great speakers and we have guests coming up that you're really going to want to listen to. But today, sometimes it's about what's actually really happening. So my co-hosts, because we're all one team, one family, Sandy Grigsby and Jeff Ross. Let's give them a thunderous round of applause. It's
Woohoo.
so great to have everybody here. And right before this recording happened, you know, things happen in life, and it's how you deal with it and how you sort of move through it. And then Sandy came up with these great suggestions. And so all of a sudden, that's where we're going today. Because when life is there, that's what people are looking for. And for those of you who are podcasting and also making podcasts, can I say one thing? Stop editing. All right. Let the podcast be what the podcast is, because that's what people are looking for. It's because they want to know it's you, it's real. If we mess up, if I call it the wrong name, which never happens, um, you know what? That happens in life. Because every time you have that failure, right, it's just the perceived notion, and you're always moving forward. You're always going to learn something from it. And I'm always excited by that. So without any further ado, so Jeff, how's your life today?
Well, as you just said, life happens, right? So, just about to jump on, I get a message saying 2 minutes late, where are you? I'm sitting here in the waiting room and I'm dealing, with dad. It's called the laptop lifestyle for a reason. We get to show up when we want to show up, how we want to show up, where we want to show up. And, I'm very proud of our boys. Harrison's now 13, Lachlan's 12, and Jackson's 9. And youngest one, Jackson, he's had ADHD, and and sometimes things can get like life, can get overwhelming. I think us adults sometimes have our moments, right? And young Jackson was just about to have his moments, so I had to deal with that as dad because mum was out down the street, and it's like, okay, let's just sit down, calm down, let's just get it through our breathing, and let's do our breath prayer as we call it, and get out of our head, get into our heart. We've got all our little cues and things
It's
like
kind of
that.
funny.
But
Your son's name is Jackson. I have a client, and it was recently at their home in the US when I was on my US tour. And their son had his very first meltdown in front of me. And he's only
right,
2.5, almost 3, and just lost his stuff over a truck. And she was like,
yeah,
I've never seen this before. New mom, new mom. So I am not a mom. I'm free of meltdowns, except for occasionally my cat will have a meltdown and she'll bite me for no reason. But I do have some tips that I can give you as not a parent that I actually learned from my clients who are experts in things like this. So if you'd like, I can
interesting.
give you my information that I know.
We
Well, I
would, but
know
I
we're
have to
having a
jump
bit of
right in.
banter.
I got to jump in for a second because right away you mentioned the cat, right? So you're dealing with an animal that would eat you if it had no other food source, right? So it would
Probably.
survive no matter what. That's the thing about cats. They will survive. They will make it through.
nine
So when
nine
that cat,
lives, right?
right, when that cat has a meltdown, I would definitely seriously, like you said, deal with it, right? Because I don't want that to come back years later when that cat is like, lunchtime. Okay, continue on.
You know what? If I die, my cat, she's a champion. She won the cat show in Bangkok. So if she could live a little bit longer so someone can rescue her, then I'm okay with her eating my fingers and toes, maybe my nose. We'll see. But
Well,
that's not the
well,
point. That's if I'm dead. And if I'm dead, what do I care? Okay. So
Well, this
first of
this
all,
took this took a turn.
it did, right? Okay. So here's the thing that I've learned from my clients. When it comes to things like ADHD, depression, any kind of things that make someone a little bit not normal in what we deem as being normal, right?
Yeah, what is normal?
My clients have told me it comes down to a few factors. One being diet, always. So, for example, if your son, do you know your son's blood type?
That's a good question. I got no idea.
Find the blood type because blood type specific diets do work and they help a
Hmm.
lot. So,
I
for
have heard a
example, if your
little bit
son
about
is
this.
yeah, if your son's an O blood type and he's eating a lot of carbs and he's eating a lot of sugar, that's not going to help him. So you'll have to switch him to more meat, fish, things with animal proteins and less of the rest. I'm not saying cut it out. I'm just saying less. But right out the gate, anything sweet, sugars, take them out of the diet. My husband's nephew was having issues, and we found it was a lot to do with diet. And when he pivoted his diet, all of it cleared up and went away because it creates hormonal
Interesting.
imbalances and all sorts of other things. Another thing, this is a big one I learned from Shreya, actually, Shreya Vahora, who was a guest on our show in the past. She specializes in construction, building homes that are healthy. She says one of the biggest contributors to ADHD triggers is your lighting.
Mm.
So, what kind of lighting do you have, Jeff, in your home? Do you have LED lights or do you have those old fashioned bulbs? A mixture. So, see what happens when you switch the lighting around your son to the old fashioned bulbs and
Mm.
see if it improves. The other
Mm.
thing is screen time. Does he get a lot of screen time?
Yeah, probably a little bit more. Like we're pretty lax on that, to be honest, as parents. We
Stop being lax. Cut it out.
no
Completely
no
eliminate his screen time, and you'll watch there's going to be a shift in the personality. ADHD went on a rise because of screens. Because remember, screens are stimulation, constant
yeah, no, I
stimulation.
get
So
that.
but also more blue light. And if he's looking at the screen first thing in the morning and then in the evening, all he's getting is that blue light into his brain, and it's messing up his melatonin, it's messing up his
Yeah,
hormones,
yeah, that
and
makes
it's
sense.
causing these things to happen.
Yeah, okay. Cool. All right. Well, that makes sense. As parents, we normally do everything in moderation. We make sure that they've got outside time as well as their tech times. Growing up in today's world, we want to make sure that they're equipped, with the tools and the skills to be able to, to be able to develop. It's
Yeah, but
fascinating, right?
remember, everything in moderation wasn't the same today as it was for us. How much
No, it's
screen time
not.
did you get growing up?
Yeah, well, that's right. It's probably flipped, right? The 80/20 rule is definitely flipped. But I will say one thing, our oldest son, like all three kids have had the same sort of, parenting with that. Our eldest son's now, teaching himself how to play guitar off of YouTube. Like he's self-taught and he's playing Metallica, he's playing Akadaka, like all self-taught. And he's
That's
playing
amazing.
better than most 30-year-olds will ever pick up a guitar. Our Lachlan, he's now learning how to code. And, so like they're picking up these skill sets as well. It's not just all YouTube or social media. They're definitely using the tools to further their skill sets. But I understand what you're saying with the lighting, the melatonin, the screen time, all that sort of thing is making the body chemistry a bit haywire. I get that.
It's just a contributor and it just makes things worse. So Shreya
Mm,
specifically said when she deals with her clients who have children that have ADHD, when they change the lighting, it helps significantly.
mm.
So, and then the screen time, of course. So those are just some
Well,
things that you might want to look at. So diet, screen time, and then, it's great if your son's learning off of the internet and doing stuff. How much screen time is he actually getting after that? If he's playing the guitar, he's probably more focused on that right now than sitting there
yeah,
and looking at his screen, right? So
yeah,
he's
yeah. That's it.
actually
That's it.
naturally reducing his screen time.
Yeah,
I'm
and it's
curious
been
though.
it's been his choice.
Yeah. I'm curious. The one thing about the incandescent lights, by the way, for those that are old enough and we know what they are, and we miss them dearly, right? And I hold on to the last few we have, but so like in America, those have gone away.
No,
To get
they just are bringing him back now.
Thank
There was
the
a switch.
Lord, because right, there's that whole and we LEDs last 30 years. I don't even know if I'm gonna last another, right? But there is that and you can change the lighting on the LEDs. You can now, they've made them so you can adapt the light and make it that soft incandescent.
Nope.
It's
Nope.
not the
Nope.
same.
Nope. Michael, don't fall for it. That's baloney. Here's the thing about LEDs, and I learned this from my clients. I'm not claiming to be the expert, but
Yeah, yeah.
I know these things for a fact. Okay, the way that the light is sent out, it is like flickering. So, for example, have you ever used your phone and you film something like in a grocery store to show someone, and then the video is flickering?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
That's what the LEDs are doing. So even though you can change the color, you can't change the strobe effect. And that strobe effect is the contributor to the ADHD and other neurological conditions because it's flickering in your eyes.
Well, back
Believe it
when
or
we were
not, they
kids,
actually flicker when they're off as well.
yeah, it's fascinating because back when we were kids, right, they had the games, they had the warnings, the epileptic
Yeah.
warnings coming up because of the same reasons. I get that.
So
And
imagine you're
thank you, and
sitting in
thank you.
your
Like,
living room, the lights are off, they're still flickering, it's still getting into your brain.
yeah,
Of
yeah, yeah.
course, it's going to trigger something.
Well, that makes logistical sense, and thank you, and I love this, right? Because this is an opportunity for growth, and I want to sort of just address another topic here around receiving and giving advice. And one of my mentors said me probably about 10 years ago. He said, "Well, advice, right? It's a bit like going on to a dress shop. Go into the dress shop, you try a shirt on. If it doesn't fit, you put it up in the coat rack and you say, 'Thank you very much. At least you tried it on.'" And so I'm going to take this advice. I'm going to try it on. I'm going to see if it fits for us. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you for exploring that because, I've learnt to get out of my own way sometimes, my own naivety, my own ego. And, the rule of thumb there is to accept the advice, go try it on. If it fits, great, it works. If it doesn't, well, at least you say you've got your own self-evaluated wisdom to say yes or no, right?
Exactly. And, I've been trying this on myself as well. I used to
Mm,
get bad headaches in the evenings, eye strain. I would get that nausea feeling. If I were working on the computer too late, I would actually feel drunk and nauseous at the same time. And what I switched up after speaking to some of my clients is every morning now I wake up just as the sun is coming up. So, like the
yeah,
red
wow.
morning light, but you can't quite see the sun yet. So
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us here in Thailand, it's about 7 a.m. The sun just starts peaking. So when the sun starts peaking, I look into the red light, not into the sun
Mm.
itself. We go blind, but I
Well,
look in the red light to get the
it's
red
funny
light
you
in my
say that
eyes. And
because
it's changed a lot.
I grew up in horse studs, right? So we were up before the crack of dawn,
Yeah.
feeding the horses and looking after the cattle and and all that sort of thing. And for all of my teens, my young adult years into my 20s, I was always up before sunset, and we didn't go up back to work until after sunset. So you were out in that natural light all the time. And yeah, I have noticed a difference over this last decade from working on the land to working in an office.
Yeah.
Uh,
Michael,
mm,
what time do you wake up?
fascinating.
Depends. It depends. I'm also in Seattle, so look, we have more rain than anybody knows. We actually try
Uh,
not to say that because we've had actually the 7 driest years in our history and literally dries in May, and we have sun till about October. It's been pretty amazing. But yeah, usually my natural is, well, it depends. I mean, 6:30 to 7, but boy, it's been great recently. I suddenly wake up, it's like 8:30. It's like, okay, I'm good with this. Life is because I used to be a night owl as I was younger. I was always a night owl.
Same
And
here.
I'd snack a little bit at night, right? And then I would work, or I was a gamer, so I played EverQuest for anybody who remembers that game, which became World
I
of
loved
Warcraft and all of
EverQuest.
that. Yeah,
Loved it.
EverQuest was the bet. We were the bet. We were all in beta, and then we went on and we'd stay up all night and play. Um, but I do understand the importance of going out. I mean, I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, that's what you had. We were out every day as much as we could. And I grew up in LA, so it was sunshine all the time. But that's an interesting because you talked about light sources and how light affects you, and obviously we know with the sun we know the different phases, and we even know how the moon affects us at night.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was thinking as we go through this, because our son was ADHD too, and in ways he solved and went through it. And actually, computers changed his life because now he could really get out what he needs, and now he's incredibly successful. But um, when it comes to that light source again, is there because it's all about habits. It's first of all, you're always trying to convince the parents, and parents are using part of why they're using the iPads and the tablets is because the kids are quiet and they can do what they need to do. And
I'm
COVID even
guilty.
made
I've
that
done that.
worse, right? COVID made it worse because it gave us a way to keep them really busy when they're all in the house and nobody's going anywhere. Um, and so at night, I have a tendency of, and I'm getting to the point. At night, I have a tendency of I use my iPad. I like to watch comedies, or I mean, I get caught in shows. I like a lot of British and Irish shows. Not plugging anything, but I love Big Bang Theory. I could literally watch it over and over.
We could
Um,
have so many one-liners on that one.
yeah, we could. Between sort of Seinfeld, Frasier, Big Bang, and but the other thing too is what's really big now is the sound. So we talked about light, we talked about diet, but how many apps between Calm and Hallow and on, it's very much about, and it's the brown, it's the green, it's the Sandy, because you've talked to a lot of people, you've interviewed a lot of people. Can you talk a little bit about so let's move into sound and how important that is. So I use my iPad even, but I'll turn my iPad down and just listen. And I've now here, that's not so great because this is a transmitter. The I can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, sound is really important. People don't realize how important it is. What you listen to can affect your brain in a big way, and it affects your heartbeat, your rhythm, your frequency, everything. So, for example, if you are listening to or watching a horror film right before you go to bed, I mean, the screaming alone, that's inviting things in to your nervous system, and you don't want that. So sound is really important. That's why they say don't watch movies right before bed. Listen to something calming, peaceful music, even like the classics, Bach, Beethoven, anything like that.
Mhm.
It helps regulate your nervous system. And when it comes to how you listen to it, one of the worst things you can do is listen with wireless headphones on. And I'm guilty. I go to the gym with my, the big headphones on because they close out the sound of everybody else at the gym and the horrible gym music that they always play that you're like, why are you playing this song? So I like to wear them just because it's kind of like a silencing at the gym, but I wear it for as little as possible. So I get on a power plate, which is a vibrating plate. I put them on. I listen to my music, my soothing, calming music, or some sort of podcast or something. But as soon as I can, I take them off. And then I walk to my gym, which is about 20-minute walk from my house, and I will have my wired headphones in because of those radio frequencies. I don't want that going to my brain. So for me, I'm really mindful about what I actually put into my body through my ears. And I try to, if I'm going to watch something, sometimes you want to watch something before bed, which
Yeah.
we know it's not
Yeah.
great because of the blue light, but sometimes you just kind of need to wind down, especially if you had a long night working. I have clients
Mm.
sometimes until late and I just need to clear my brain. But I
Yeah,
Mhm.
try
yeah.
to watch things that are funny or lovely. Things that are just very positive, uplifting, happy, funny. I avoid negativity, violence, someone's throat being cut, things like that. Just never want to
Well,
put
it's
that in my brain before bed.
like the whole theme of this whole conversation really is it's garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in,
You
garbage
know,
out.
like,
Exactly.
and we are just machines at the end of the day, biological ones for sure. But what we put in, we're going to get out. And I remember one of my pastor friends talking about this. His son was listening to too much like death metal, and starting to watch all of the real horror and the real that type of stuff. You're talking about that content, but it was just like 100% of his content was all that. And you start to see his shift in his nature and in his attitude and the way that he showed up and he expressed himself, and he became a very angry teenager.
Yeah.
And so it was addressed. It was like, well, how about we start just to, bring in some positive sort of content, whatever that looks like. Let's maybe reading good positive personal development books, listening to a good podcast, finding some, music, whether it be worship music, country music even, or whatever, right?
Yeah. Country music is
Some
lovely.
oh,
It's
I
always a
love country
positive
music. I grew
message
up
or
on
a
it.
depressing one, but
Yeah, yeah. You got your favorites, of course, but um,
but
I
it's
grew up
true.
on Garth. I grew up on Garth Brooks and George Strait and Alan Jackson and all that, and you
Yeah.
you can sense the shift in the energy with music. Yeah, and
Well,
this is
look
why.
at music from
What's
like the
what's the nerve? What's the nerve
50s.
called? The vagus
The
nerve,
the
is it?
the
Or
vagus nerve, yeah, the
yeah, yeah,
vagus nerve. Look at music from the 40s and the 50s. I love listening to music from that era because it was so fun and playful and beautiful and romantic and
yeah.
just happy
Well,
music. And then there
where I
was
was
that
going,
pivot.
where I was going to go with this is I love to worship. Like we go to church on a Sunday, we go to a Pentecostal church, and yes, we are the people that put their hands up and all of that sort of
Do you have the
jazz.
convulsions?
Yeah, the Holy Spirit moments. No, we're not quite that bad. Um, but there's something about it when you just really embody the song and you just go all in. Like you don't want to hear me sing. Like I'm the worst karaoke star you'll ever come across in your life, but I don't hold back. I'm all out. And
Then that
so
makes you the best.
thousand people in the church. I lead by example. 1,000 people in the church, and I'm tone deaf, but I know I walk away from that personally. It's not about other people. It's about me in this scenario. I walk away from that energized. I walk away from that actually refreshed. And it's like, I've just been plugged into the PowerPoint, if you will, and I've just got, my charge up like the phone does. That tops me up for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And I know if I don't do that on a weekly basis, on that habitual sort of routine, And I've gone, maybe 2 or 3 weeks where I haven't gone to church because of been other distraction or other excuses, whatever you want to put in there. And, and then you start to feel yourself getting snappy. You start to feel yourself getting tired. You start to feel yourself running out of empty. And then, an argument might happen with Sarah and the kids might cop a little bit of a bluntness and, things like that. But I know my reset is I'm an extrovert. I go to church, go get my fill, and go and get that space, get into worship, and that resets everything. So it's fascinating the energy levels that we're talking about here in sound, sight, um,
Yeah.
taste with
What
our nutrition.
what I like to listen to is I use Spotify. It's easy. I have a subscription there. I like to listen to the 432 hertz songs, the music there, because that's really
Mm,
calming to the nervous system. So I'll listen to that when I'm meditating or doing yoga, or if I can't sleep at night. It's quite soothing. And the other one is there are playlists on YouTube, on Spotify, other places called Heal Any Disease. And a friend had told me about this years ago that he listens to these Heal Any Disease playlists for, I believe he said 2 hours a day. So
yeah,
an hour in
wow,
the morning, an hour in the evening. And he says it's completely kept him from getting
wow,
sick. So I
wow,
told my mom this, and my mom was like, yeah, okay, I'll try it. She started listening to Heal Any Disease, and some of her arthritis and other things started to dissipate. So I'm not
wow.
saying if it
No,
works
no,
or
I've
not,
got I've got another story just to,
but
to
I've
sort of
heard.
echo that. A
Yeah,
friend of mine 10 years ago, don't know what it was that happened. The doctor still can't diagnose it. He lost the ability to walk overnight. And he was actually in hospital for several months. It was something to do with his nervous system and his back and something like that. Just anyway, they still really can't pinpoint what it was actually caused the issue. But lost the ability to walk overnight. But he listened at nighttime. He listened to audio books, positive speaking and affirmations and just that mindset stuff. And through some physio and some support and that sort of thing, within 9 months he was up and walking again on his own. I find it fascinating when, just the
that's
power of the
the mind.
positive influence, right?
Well,
The
it
mind.
is, and I'll have somebody on this show eventually who sort of did that, who,
Mm,
I sent you the thing on him. He speaks around the world, but on the power of the mind and what we can do, and music is vibrational. So, when you said 432 hertz, I had to look it up because I couldn't help myself. And I'm looking at the top playlists on for 432, music hits. And so, number one, I don't. Number two, In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Of course, that brings, see, and
of
also music
course.
brings back memories. So
Yeah.
that's Miami Vice right there. And then Bohemian Rhapsody, one of my favorite songs ever. And I
A
did see
great
Queen in
song.
1977. Let's see what Billie Jean. Comfortably Numb, one of the best Pink Floyd songs ever, and actually one of the best
Wow.
songs ever written. Dust in the Wind, Fly Like an Eagle. Fly Like an Eagle, there's a whole story there I'm not going to tell when as we're recording. But that was a good year. But they're great. They're songs that I still listen to all the time. And now I'm thinking, so now I'm going to think of it differently. I mean, I could do Bohemian Rhapsody in my car all the time. I could do it. And people say, well, it's about that. No, actually, after you listen to it, you're like, oh, it just feels good.
Mm,
Mhm.
There's something, thank you, Brian, May, and Freddie. But there's just something that brings to it. So what I'm going to do now is because I have Spotify and I have accounts with everybody, but I'm going to try that tonight. I'm going to bring up that list and I'm going to let that, as we say, put me to bed. And we're going to talk about that because I had not heard that. I had
mm.
I
missed that
love that.
one totally somewhere. So um, we're about to end. Hopefully everybody's learned something. Sandy, thank you for that because I am going to use that right away. Part of creating a habit, actually,
Brilliant.
everybody is actually doing it. Right? We talk a lot about it, but if you don't do it, yeah, I'll change it one day. I'll make this shift, and that's fine. You adapt and you really whatever works for
Try it
you.
on. No, try it on.
Yeah, try it on. That's what they said about some of the stuff in the 80s we were wearing around Miami Vice. They said, try it on. Man, I look that white suit, let me tell
I
you.
hope you have a
Um,
photograph of that.
I have to find it. That yeah, then
Oh,
they
this is
tried a
too much
yellow
fun.
one. Yeah, it was really good. It was fun days, boy. Um, but it's the kind of thing where you really to create that habitual and we'll have people come on who talk about habits and how do you create it, but not just the boring stuff. And I'll do a show on too, Jeff, you know how I talk about creating goals, but the play
Yeah,
acting and the fun, we're gonna do that one time. I'll show
love.
you guys
Let's
something
do
we
it.
used to do.
That's brilliant.
Um, but it's been a great show. Every time we're learning, you're learning, we're all learning, and we do this together. Make sure you watch the show notes. Make sure you listen to what is coming next. And if you ever have questions, we'll again have a place that you could reach out and make sure we see those questions. And once in a while, we'll grab some of the listeners and we'll have you on the show because it's one
Actually,
team, one family. We do this together. Yes, El Jefe.
I just want to add to
You're
that
still
to
the
our
biggest
list.
one on my screen. I love this. Yes.
I'll fix it up in editing. Um, with our audience, I want to know what your tips are for around this conversation because we would like to hear back from you too. So this is not just a one-way conversation, well, three-way with us, but we want to be able to make this, go back and forth with you as the audience too, because we want to feel engaged, we want to feel connected with you too. So let us know what your tips are around this conversation.
Love it.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. Anything
Right.
else, Sandy, before we go?
Oh, I think I said a lot. I don't know. I have so
Oh,
much. I could go on forever, but I have been doing the red light thing in the morning and at night, limiting my screen time, and it has helped. I have more energy in the day, and I'm much strong. I have more strength at the gym, which is really, really nice.
Interesting. So is that red light therapy?
Well, no, just getting real sunlight in my eyes in the morning.
Okay,
It
right.
changes
Yep, right.
everything.
Okay.
And I'm
Yeah.
not tired throughout the day. Well, before I'd be like, oh, I'm so tired. I need to take a nap. Now I'm like,
Yeah,
whoop,
yeah.
charged.
this is
Get
great.
up get up before the sunrise and go for a walk while the sunrise is
Yeah.
coming up, right?
I love doing
Right.
that. But in
Yeah.
Bangkok, sometimes the air isn't the greatest this time of year because it's not the rainy season. They're burning crops and the fireworks.
Mm,
Mm.
mm, mm, mm. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay. Thank you all for being on. Thank you, everybody, for listening today. If you love what you heard, just recommend it. Tell other people that you know. It's really bringing together a family and a community that just has a discussion, and we're always trying to do every day differently. It's not about better. It's not about worse, right? Because then there's no judgment here. Um, and we'll bring topics that you also suggest. We'll bring people on, and we'll make sure that we have that open conversation like we promised all of you. So for myself and Jeff Ross and Sandy Grigsby, thank you so much for being on. Unmuted again, another week, another day. Have a great evening. Talk to everybody. Bye.
Bye.